Good morning.
Good morning, welcome.
Today is Sunday, and it is the end of September, September 26th, 19, listen to me, I'm going back a century, 2021. Our talk today is "And Still I Rise." And I'm going to begin with an opening affirmative prayer. So if you'll join with me, let's just know that we are here together, joined, our minds with the one mind of God, that creative energy and creative essence that is always creating and creates through us as our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and expectations. So we give thanks for knowing that there is a power for good in the universe that is greater than we are, and we can use it. In fact, are using it all the time. And this is what gives our life meaning and purpose. We are creators, creating a better life for ourselves, our loved ones, our community, and our planet. We know that this is our purpose. We know that this is why we are here. We give thanks for having discovered or always believed this concept. And so we release now and come together, and together we say, and so it is. I usually have a reading from Ernest Holmes today, but today I thought I would do it myself. So this "And Still I Rise," it comes from a wonderful poem that poet laureate Maya Angelou wrote. I'm looking for part of it that I want to read to you because it's appropriate. Here we go. Because all of us all of us have challenges all the time that we're dealing with, and everybody does, and you need to know that everybody is having some challenges. So Maya Angelou faced major ones in her life, major ones. And being a Black woman in America was not easy. She actually went to Africa and lived for a while, and worked at universities and whatnot.
Wasn't easy there either.
No, it wasn't easy there either. But and she became our poet laureate, and had careers in her life as a dancer, as a prostitute, as a single mom. She's really had some struggles, but certainly living in America as a Black woman is not an easy thing. And this is just part of her poem, but she says, "You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise." And so we were thinking about some of the many challenges and how those who have a zest for life, a desire to live, still rise. In fact, all the people that we admire, and when you hear their stories, we're always hearing the stories of how they overcame hardship. And that's what's inspirational to us. It's not inspirational to us to hear, oh, well, somebody was born with a silver spoon in their mouth and
Kept it there.
and kept it there,
Lived along with it
and
didn't
went
share it
went
and
to
went
the
on, yeah.
best colleges and made a buddy system of other rich people that kept him happy and rich all his life. We're not inspired by those. We're inspired by overcoming our challenges, because we all have them. I love what the philosopher George Carlin said. George Carlin, the comedian, said, "I like it when a flower or a little tuft of grass grows through a crack in the concrete. It's so heroic."
I want to start with that because we were talking today, Judith and I were talking this morning about meaning and finding meaning in things.
Meaning and purpose.
And when you find meaning and purpose, it just changes the whole journey. But I was thinking about a seed. Now, a seed, in the beginning, a seed is kept protected and it's surrounded by nurturing and however a seed is developed, it develops in a safe place. And then at some point, the seed pod or whatever it is breaks open and the seed falls out. It doesn't jump out, it falls out and it falls to the ground. And if the seed were to say, well, I wonder what my purpose is, the seed might wonder if the purpose was to reach higher places, to blossom and flower, but instead it gets buried in the ground. And when it gets buried in the ground, it has to go deeper and deeper into the ground. And then what it does initially before it grows up is it grows
And
out.
it's dark there.
It grows, yeah. So it's buried in darkness, in dirt, and it has to find a way to survive that and at the same time begin to grow. And at some later point in its life, it breaks through the soil and sees the possibilities of living in a world in which there is no dirt. I wonder for all of us when we're buried in the dirt, how often we we go back to maybe there's something greater. Maybe there is a purpose and a meaning in this. Maybe I can learn something from this. Maybe I need to find a way to put my roots down in the middle of the soil and draw the nurturing and the nourishment that's in the soil for me before I can sprout and before I can flower. And I think for myself, at least, there are lots of days when I'm in the dirt that I can't understand why that's so.
Why
And
am I in the
why am
dark?
I in the dark and the dirt?
And the dirt.
And this is not the way it's supposed to be. And those are the times when we can really be down on ourselves and or down on the choices we've made.
Our life.
Yeah, and but I want to start off with that anyway.
Yeah, because what lifts us up from those conditions is having meaning and purpose. You know, when I talk about meaning and purpose, I don't mean to achieve great things. I mean to know that, for example, what gives my life meaning and purpose is to know that I'm a spiritual being connected with all other human beings, all actually connected with all the consciousnesses on our planet, which includes the animal and plant consciousness. And that the meaning of my life is to have experience, to gain wisdom, to do my part to lift the consciousness of those on our planet, to make things better, to try to help others. As Bob says, we're all here just walking each other home. And I'm grateful that I have a belief in the divine, in something bigger than myself. And because a lot of our country doesn't anymore. And it's hard to have meaning and purpose in your life if you believe that we're here by accident. It was an accidental creation of a happenstance of a connection of different elements that evolved and became accidentally evolved into a human being who's just an animal by nature. And the only thing of importance is the survival of the species. That does not give you much self-importance, does it?
Right.
Or meaning. And a lot of our country now lives that way. And I think it's causing problems with people going, what's it all about, Alfie? What's the meaning of life? What am I here for? So even when you have challenges of sickness and sickness, illness, hardship, when you believe that you're here, your purpose may just be to love your families, but you're here for a reason. It gives you a reason, to break through that dirt and find the sunlight.
I was reminded of the topic when I was watching the actor studio, and one of the actors was being questioned about how he selects a script. He said, well, I read the script, and if the script means something to me and the script speaks to me and the script says something to me that I want to be a part of, then I say yes to the play. And so in essence, when I say yes to the play, it becomes my play. And then he said, when I'm on the stage and I begin to work on it, the director or the director will say to me, dig as deep as you can, find as much substance as you can from your past experiences and embody the role. Be complete and whole in the role that you're playing right now, because this is a script that you said yes to. This is a movie that you are starring in. You are the star. So if you thought about that, this is a script you wrote or co-wrote or said yes to, and you're the star
Mm.
of in this play, then how would it serve you to stand in the background and say, I don't know, I'm only going to live it half-heartedly. And so
Mm.
part of what we're being asked to do is to be authentic in our whole person and bring ourselves to whatever that situation or circumstance is. And I've noticed for myself that one of the ways that I think I survive, but in fact I deprive myself, is that when I'm in a situation I don't feel real good about, I hold part of me back as if somehow holding part of me back is going to make, is going to save me from. But in fact, what I really need to do is to jump in with both feet, jump in with my whole being, and be as authentic and as whole and as I can in the experience. Then I can add to other people's lives, but I can also add to my own life everything that I gather from that experience. So Werner Erhard, in his Esther training, often talked about one of our favorite games is takeaway. And whenever something doesn't go our way, we take ourselves away. But we also take ourselves away in subtle ways. We take ourselves away by being the critic and saying, "I'm just going to be an observer until it looks like I can play and win." We take ourselves away by saying, "I'm not really going to join, therefore I don't ever have to belong." But when we really join any situation, like a moment in time, and we really join with that and become all that we can be in that moment, we discover who we are. We discover what this play is all about. We discover our purpose and our meaning.
You bring me to a memory of the time in my life when I would take myself away from in a relationship was when I felt powerless to change it.
Mm.
So I had no voice to express because I thought it would just get worse if I did. So I just took myself away, and that's not living life full-heartedly and doesn't help anyone. But I wanted to share this passage. This is from Irvin Chris Michaels, Dr. Chris Michaels in Fort Lauderdale, and it's from a book that he wrote, and that book is called "The Soul, Your Soul's Assignment." Your soul's assignment. But he says our problems, challenges, and limitations are tiny, insignificant matters compared with the immense power we have to overcome them. We are powerful beings. All our power is generated from within. It rises up to meet whatever challenge it is faced with. This power is spiritual power that comes directly from the life of God and within every individual, and it is limitless. So I find those words very inspiring, that no matter what our condition is, we know that our thoughts, and I'm borrowing a little bit from Seth here because we're teaching his class on mass events, but whatever we're experiencing that we don't like, when we think about what we don't like about it, we're just creating more about that. And if we can shift and look at what we do want, we are actually sending out tentacles. Seth calls them tentacles of thought that go all around the planet to attract just the right people, places, and things to create what you do want. And what's creating what you're thinking about all the time. So you have to look at what are you thinking about all the time and take responsibility for that. So I find that very inspiring. But I've got to tell you about something else that was interesting to me that's actually coming up in our class tomorrow. But he was talking about that some people, because we all die at some point, and he said some people make a statement in their death. They're making a statement that has people think about things. And that was a concept I had never
Mhm.
considered. And he was actually talking about Jonestown and Guyana in the 70s, where there was the mass suicide. And he said everybody who died that day did so, with their soul's agreement, and they were there to make a statement. And but the statement was about what actually happened afterwards. It had everyone, certainly in our country, looking at how could this happen? What happened to our values? What happened to our religious ideas that would have people do this? So, what are we doing with our religions? What are we doing with our social cultures? Because a lot of the people who joined Jonestown were Black and white people living in harmony because they weren't finding that out there in the community. So, what are we doing with our communities? What are we doing with our social structures? And how could this happen? That people don't value their life. They have no meaning or purpose enough. They want somebody else to tell them what to do, and they will do it. So that was a statement for that, of
Right.
course.
It takes me back to the metaphor I was using earlier, though, with the movie, which is some movies have to end in a very dramatic way with a very dramatic death. And, we have death scenes that they all have a meaning though. And in fact, without that ending, which seems to be the worst part of the movie, it is in fact often the culmination of a life well lived that needs to be expressed the way it's being expressed. And the truth is, in the movie, after that person has this heroic or terrible or horrible or wonderful death, then you see them in another movie. And the reason you see them in another movie is because life is eternal. And I'm not subscribing to the notion of getting excited about death, but I'm saying that and the continuum of things, it's no more serious than anything else.
Yeah, we're not excited about it, but our age, it seems like almost daily we hear
Yeah,
about friends who've made their transition
right.
in ministry and other places of relatives, and so and some of you are our age, and so you must be experiencing the same thing.
40,
So we
45. Yeah.
can no longer have the luxury of not thinking about death anymore, as you did when you were younger. Um, we have to consider that a part of life.
But we also have to, and I think it's part of, it's also one of the stages of life. It's a time when, this is a time for us at least, that we start looking for more meaning in everything we do. This is
It's
not a
true.
time of trying to acquire as much as trying to reach deeper into what am I doing, and does it fulfill my soul? Does it make my heart happy? And I think
Yes.
this is a time for us to, if we can, remove some of the things that are space savers or time fillers and see if we can't fill that space with something that has more meaning, fill that time with something that makes our time feel well spent. Because you do realize at this point that in this frame of experience, we only have a limited amount of time. And so part of what I'm talking about today for all of us here is looking at the things that you use to fill your time up and asking yourself, is this how I want my life to look? Is this what I would want to have my life be about?
Yes, for example, in our culture where people feel no meaning in their own lives or purpose, a lot of time is spent looking for entertainment, looking for something that will make me happy. It's basically a distraction from what I'm really feeling or thinking. So whether it's a football game or it's a concert, or there's nothing wrong with any of these things. But I know that there was a time in my life when we had reached a point of somewhat of affluence, and my husband was an airline pilot, and I had friends, wives of the pilots, who would fly to Dallas for a day of shopping. And there was a time when we flew to San Francisco for dinner, you know. And those were all fun things, and there's nothing wrong with them. I'm not saying there is, but if your life has no meaning or purpose other than entertainment, entertaining yourself, that's a pretty unhappy existence. And I find that I don't need a lot of entertainment. I do enjoy a good movie and good documentaries, but I don't need to go out and do the things that I did when I was younger, because I there's meaning and purpose more in just the basics now.
Mhm.
Just connecting to truth, helping others, being with family, helping family when we can, and knowing that we are really God here on earth.
Well, I think not treating ourselves as if we're in some sort of a waiting room, waiting for something to happen, waiting for the end, waiting for something, and ask ourselves, can I make this a living room, not a waiting room? And if I can live more in the room that I'm in, what would I do? And I would even ask you to look at the space that you're living in and look around and say, is there anything here that I would want to change that would have me feel like I can live here more fully? Because the things we have in our life reflect decisions we've made, and they can enclose us or they can free us. They can open us to new ideas or they can close us off to them. And so just look at your space this week, whatever space you're in, wherever you're sitting, and ask yourself, what would I need to do to have this be a space that would make me feel more like joining, participating? What would be a space? What can I do in my space to help me feel I can create more for myself? If you
Hmm.
find yourself in what I would say is your waiting room, then it's going to be a very long day.
So Norman Vincent Peale says, no matter how dark things seem to be, or actually are, raise your sights and see possibilities. That's what Bob was just saying. They're always there.
So I think it's, earlier on, we were talking just before we got started, and one of our members was saying that after we talked about iguanas, he looked out the window and saw an iguana. And there's a couple parts to that that really made me feel happy. One is that he took the time to look at the iguana, to be excited about this showing, this experience, this creature, and he made it a part of his life rather than just discarding it. And I think we discard a lot of possibilities. Now, when I walk to the car from our condo downstairs and then across the parking lot to my car, I greet the iguanas, I greet the little curly-tailed lizards, I greet the ants, I greet the crows when they're calling. I greet all of them, and by the time I get to my car, we've already had a multiple number of conversations, all of which make me feel a whole lot more alive and connected. I can also do the same walk and lament that I have to go to work, and lament that this is just something I have to do, as opposed to making it a journey and including on that journey as many things as I can that connect me to the world.
So, would you like to end this with a prayer?
No.
But you will, right?
Okay, so, and then we're going to move to the, we'll end the session and we'll have some music also. And by the way, for those of you that don't stay with us for the music piece, I'm posting the music on my Facebook page, so you can retrieve it later. Also, for those
Called Higher Ground.
Higher Ground, yeah, by
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder wrote it, and it's being played by Playing for Change. And also, I highly recommend that if you do listen to any of these, listen to them with headphones. They're astounding. They're well recorded. Okay, so let's end with a treatment. So what I know, and I have known, and I will always know, is the divine and I are woven together like a fine weaving, and that I cannot be separated from my good, and I cannot be separated from the consciousness and the soul of humanity. I will not be separated because I will not allow myself to be separate from this extraordinary experience of living fully, living completely, living in the depths of all that is good and all that is life and all that is love. So I embrace this, and I embrace the healing that I know comes from this knowing. I embrace the healing that is unfolding right here and right now within my being, in whatever area there is a requirement for healing. And I say yes to that. I say yes to that, to the mental conditions. I say yes to that, to the physical conditions, to the financial, to the every condition that there is. I say yes to my manifesting absolutely everything exactly as I need it for that perfect unfoldment of me and the divine working together. I celebrate this experience. I know it to be so, and I'm so involved with the joy of loving it that all I can do now and here is to say yes. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you. So I am now going to stop the recording.